The future belongs to those who dare, those who will do extra. Hi, I'm Mark Croskery, and welcome to Business Live Extra, the program that looks beyond the dollars and cents to the movers and shakers in business and the capital markets. Wealth creation may well be a silver bullet for Jamaica's crime problem. At least that's the view of one government minister who once commented, the more wealth we create is the less crime we will have, and the more human development that we enhance is the less problems that we will have. He was standing on the stage with our next guest when he said that. Today we are joined by a finance executive with an entrepreneurial spirit. He has over 13 years experience in the industry, having worked in private equity and investment banking. He is also the co-founder and director of regional technology company Growth Tech Limited and holds directorships in Bumble Digital Agency Limited, Brainboxx Solutions, and Dolla Financial Services. He also holds directorships in various GOJ boards, Government of Jamaica, including Chairman of National Education Trust. Have you guessed it yet? Our guest today is Mr. Ryan Reid, President and co-founder of FirstRock Group. Ryan, welcome to the show. It's great having you.
Nice to be here, Mark.
Yeah. It's good to see you on Business Live Extra.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm a big fan of Business Live.
We like that.
Great,
that's good.
Great.
We love to hear when guests jump on the show, and that's their first remarks. You know?
Yes,
we might use that again and again.
I know, right?
Yeah. You know, Ryan, you're not only the president, the CEO, but you're the co-founder of FirstRock Group.
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
How does it feel, at such a young age? You've put in your time, as some of our stalwarts in the industry say, but you've put in your time, and you're a founder, of a financial group and a listed company on the Jamaica Stock Exchange.
Boy, Mark, enough stress. Enough stress. I can't tell you that much. When you seek to embark on this entrepreneurial journey, sometimes you're not fully apprised and cognizant of, what is required, right? And I must say that, I've learned to swim over the last couple of years. And the truth is, I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world.
Right.
So that's where I'm at today. I'm very motivated, I'm dedicated, and, I'm never derailed.
Yes, I like that. Ryan, your rise, has come also, during the time of, low interest rate environment.
Yes.
A few financial firms have kind of emerged,
Yes.
Barita Investments, Cygnus Group and FirstRock. How do you and FirstRock just differentiate yourself, during this time of the last couple of years?
So the truth is, we wanted, and by we, I mean Michael Banbury and myself, my business partner, we wanted to create an entity through FirstRock Capital Holdings that took an entrepreneurial approach towards the business of real estate. What we saw were like real estate or quasi-real estate investment trusts, real estate funds, etc. But we wanted to take an entrepreneurial approach towards the business of real estate, akin to what the average high net worth individual would do when it comes to real estate, and bring it to market. That's what we wanted to do. Okay. And I think that we have been the agents of this paradigm shift in the business of real estate that we're seeing currently in Jamaica.
Okay. And that's great to hear. When I was much younger, and even a kid growing up in Jamaica, real estate was the go-to. And even to this day, even though Martin Street Forest and the Stock Exchange Board have increased the percentage per capita in the stock exchange.
Yes.
Jamaicans' first question typically to a financial advisor is, is it guaranteed return or is it secure? And so there's still a ton of money going into real estate. What was that a part of your vision of you and Michael, or what was the vision of the listed company, FirstRock Capital Holdings, when you guys got together, however FirstRock came about?
Yes, that's a very good question, Mark. There are two tools that we wanted to employ. One, access, right? So access by way of listing on the stock exchange, so to allow persons to be able to delve into real estate beyond just buying a home, right? So we currently have over 3,000 shareholders. So that's one of the objectives. So we got 3,000 shareholders through FirstRock Capital Holdings in roughly a year and a half.
Do you find it, I mean, is it, say, 2,500 Jamaicans or more? I mean, have you attracted some
Jamaicans.
international? Or?
Yeah, well, some international, but largely Jamaicans.
Okay.
Right? And then also, we wanted to give exposure to the region. So as it stands now, FirstRock Capital Holdings has roughly about 25 properties in like 4 countries. So there's the regional diversification, which has been a key tool in our risk mitigation strategy.
And what sort of timeline is that, since you started, you listed, what type of timeline are we talking about
in 3 years.
In 3 years.
3 years.
To get to, say, this 25 property, hurdle.
Correct.
Okay. Yeah.
Correct.
What type of income producing versus development are you at right now?
So on the income producing side, you're looking at about 40%. Development side, another maybe 30 to 40%.
Okay.
And then the rest, includes like real estate linked instruments as well as property for capital gains.
That's great.
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
And the listed company, Ryan,
yes.
right? I mean, you have quite a large group, in say 3 years, 4 years, and you started off when the business started, it was private.
Correct.
But you have a component that's listed now.
Correct. So I think for the benefit, of your viewers, FirstRock Capital Resource, trading as a FirstRock Group, is the entity that was first incorporated. Mm-hmm. That entity is largely owned by Michael Banbury and myself. That entity...
That's a management company?
That's the management company, correct.
Got you.
And that entity has controlling preference shares in FirstRock Capital Holdings. FirstRock Capital Holdings initially as well was a private company. Started out with 2 shareholders, Michael Banbury and myself, and we expanded via private placement to about 78 shareholders.
And management companies really have become popular in a way, vehicles in Jamaica. I mean, they're not really a new thing.
Yes.
I mean, you have, you have Proven's management companies.
Correct.
They started off with whatever that figure was many moons ago.
Yes.
I mean, Cygnus. So it's become they've been totally the norm in the US for decades. I mean, they even have SPACs now.
Yes, SPACs. There you go.
And SPVs in the US.
Yes.
So they keep moving forward. We're catching up in Jamaica, but management companies are, have become a little bit of a craze. And so really you started with FirstRock Resource.
Correct.
Which was private.
Correct.
And then you listed FirstRock Capital.
Correct.
And what's that kind of all about? I mean, it has a big balance sheet now, I see, of 30 million US, but what's in that company? So
FirstRock Capital Holdings, actually as at June 30th has about $41 million US in assets.
So you've grown even more.
Correct.
Okay.
And that company holds largely real estate assets. So, I spoke to the business of real estate, an entrepreneurial approach towards business of real estate. That company undertakes that specific mandate.
Okay.
Right? And so the FirstRock Group, which is FirstRock Capital Resource, manages the affairs of the FirstRock Capital Holdings.
Mm-hmm. And so there was a time when, you had kind of your private equity and you had your real estate, right?
Correct.
Recently, and in some of your recent quarterly reports, you've said, okay, we are focusing 100% now on real estate.
Absolutely.
And so you have this listed company, you got your group structure, but so you've backed out, is it the private equity endeavors?
Absolutely. And that's a very good question, Mark. So, a good point, I should say. The board of FirstRock Capital Resource, which is a group, decided that there needs to be a clear delineation between the real estate strategy and the private equity strategy. And so we took the decision to incorporate an entity in Barbados, right? That entity trades as FirstRock Private Equity. And so all the private equity transactions that we'd have been exposed to through Capital Holdings, that we'd have been excited about through Capital Holdings, we have said, listen, here's a separate entity that this entity will execute the mandate of pursuing private equity opportunities. That company is headed by Christopher Young. So Christopher Young is the managing director for FirstRock Private Equity. And that company, as at today, and we started this company in February of this year, that company has just under $1 billion in assets already.
Already?
Yeah.
Well, any crossover directors between a listed company and a private company, or is it really it stands on its own
Correct.
thing, right?
So the private equity company has 8 shareholders,
So it's different shareholders, Ryan, than the listed company.
Correct.
So the only similarity really, and what sometimes creates confusion. I mean, we've seen big banks in Jamaica go through this,
Yes.
a decade, 15 years ago.
Yes.
But it's also called FirstRock, but it's actually a separate living
Absolutely.
organism. It's
Absolutely.
a different business.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So it doesn't fall actually under the listed company.
None at all. None
Okay.
at all. Not at all. It's a separate company. And that company, as I said before, has a very distinct and clear strategy. That company will pursue opportunity or is pursuing opportunities within the SME space with respect to private equity.
Okay.
And there are quite a few exciting stuff
Fantastic.
that we should be announcing very soon.
Yeah, I mean, you ever have a shareholder just come up to you, one day if you're having lunch or a coffee and say, man, Ryan, I want to get in on that, and
all the time.
and
all the time, Mark.
maybe one
all
day
the
will you have a
time.
rights issue and cross me over into the private equity side.
All the time, Mark. And the truth is,
we saw one time, I think Seprod and Epley did something recently with a real estate deal.
Yes.
They pulled on that kind of strength in Seprod's, probably shareholder registrar. I mean, could that be in the vision whereby you got $1 billion there, you got 40 million US here, and you kind of ramp them up together, down the road?
Yes. So I'd say not at this time, but we're very open. I think the key for us is to create value, and if we see where value can be created, within both entities, then certainly some sort of synergies can be created.
That's great.
Yeah.
Ryan, we're gonna get back to that point. Yeah. We take our first break on Business Live Extra. We'll find out why Ryan Reid left an established private investment company to start his own when we return. Welcome back to Business Live Extra. We're talking to Ryan Reid, President and Co-Founder of FirstRock Group. Let's take a closer look at FirstRock. It is an investment holding company focused on real estate and private equity investments. The main aim is to provide shareholders with a tax-efficient vehicle offering an enhanced level of income. FirstRock Capital Holdings Limited is an IBC incorporated in and under the laws of St. Lucia, while FirstRock Capital Resource Limited is a limited liability company incorporated in and under the laws of Jamaica. The group has 3 subsidiaries: FirstRock USA, FirstRock Capital Cayman Limited, and FirstRock LATAM. Ryan, welcome back to Business Live Extra.
Thank you. Thank you, Mark.
So your structure really,
Yes.
the listed company itself is primarily no focus on real estate.
Correct.
You had signaled that from the beginning.
Yes.
But you'd really pivoted even more towards that and kind of moved out,
Yes.
let's say the PE investments,
Correct.
the private companies.
Correct.
And private companies, globally, not just in Jamaica, typically are noisy, they say. They kind of have a little choppiness on the income statement. So do you find shareholders so far are thinking that's a good thing? I mean, are they rewarding you for it, whether it's a short term, the long term?
Yes, I would say that for FirstRock Capital Holdings, the shareholders are largely pleased with respect to the growth and the performance of the company. And, with the realignment of our portfolio, it has made them even more pleased with respect to, just their posture and their confidence in our initial commitment of this entrepreneurial approach towards business of real estate. So a lot of them would have said that, listen, okay, well, private equity is all good and well, but we want real estate exposure. And that's what we've given them with the realignment or restructuring of the group. And then on the private equity side, as I said before, we have 8 shareholders on the private equity side, and they're pretty much pleased with not having exposure to real estate.
Yes.
So we effectively, balancing all fronts.
Yes, and in a way, everyone's done it a different way.
Yes.
Epley, Cygnus, when you look at the market, but what you've kind of done is you have your companies now, or call it different cells.
Yes.
And you kind of, as you said, you're realigned.
Correct.
But private equity can be choppy, and so most persons do it, in a private firm in the beginning.
Absolutely.
Than a public firm.
Absolutely.
Okay, so it should probably be a good thing for your shareholders.
Exactly.
Coming out of this.
Very good point, Mark. Yeah.
So Ryan, thinking about you and your whole journey, you've been in the financial sector. I mean, you've put in your work, as maybe a board member might say, or an investor.
Yes.
You've done your time.
Yes.
But Ryan Reid himself, where did where is your education coming from?
Well, my journey is, has been very interesting. You know, I mean, a lot of persons, would just look at me and just not understand the journey. So I was born in Kingston, born to a mother who was an educator, and my father was a bank manager with NCB. And
your dad is quite a legend.
yes, yes, my father is a legend. My mother as well.
Okay.
You
have to keep the answer balanced there.
Absolutely, and honest. And I think about age 9, so he became a bank manager with NCB, and they said to him that you need to relocate to a branch outside of Kingston. So I was young and whatever, and you're excited initially, but then one move became 2, became 3, became 4, became 5. And for roughly about 8 years, I'd say I lived in roughly about 7 parishes outside of Kingston before moving back to Kingston. And, it was very tough back then, because, you'll be at school today and you're here next week, we're packing up and moving to, Daddy got posted to, Ocherias branch or Montego branch, whatever it is. And I hated it back then because, you just made friends and so forth. But what it has caused me to, what it has allowed for me to do is to be very open to change. So persons would be like, okay, boy, he's just so agile as a youngster. But then when I stepped into the professional world, it made me very open to change. So I really enjoyed, I have to give credit to that part of my journey. I went to multiple prep schools, multiple high schools, but I think, I think I went to at least 5 prep schools.
Wow.
But
okay.
I think the school that has really impacted me the greatest would have been Manning's, where I spent quite a number of years. That's where I graduated.
And funny enough, they've become extremely recognizable in the media recently.
No,
and
absolutely.
There've been a lot of reports on them.
Yes, exactly.
And positive reports on them.
Exactly. But I credit, the successes of my journey really to my parents. My parents were tough when they needed to be, and soft, when you never expected them to be. I remember, when I was 14, I decided that I wanted to do my CXCs, 2 CXC subjects. I think I was either in 3rd or 4th form. And
you wanted to do them early?
Early, correct.
And was that being driven by your mom as a teacher, saying, get ahead in life or move quicker?
Yes. So, she said, listen, you need to try, English language and literature. So I love to read. And, I recall one night, I was just wasting time. And the exams were maybe like a month away. And I was just watching TV. She came into the bedroom, and then she started crying.
Okay.
And I'm like, okay, well, I need to buckle up. And I buckled down, I should say. And at 14, I got distinctions in both.
Okay.
So that's the sort of motivation. My family motivates me a lot.
You found was it both your mom and your dad were kind of iron fist of the family,
No,
or was there one in particular that had a?
No, absolutely. So my mother was more like on the softer side. My father was very crafty. Again, I remember studying for A levels, and I had a very good friend who I used to waste a lot of time with at school.
The good friends tend to be like.
Oh God, trust me. And then he came on one night and said, I saw your friend's dad, and he's very concerned about his son. So I'm like, why? He's like, he's just studying so much in the nights. So I can tell you, we stopped being friends after that. So those are the things that he used to do to ensure that I stay, on track. And beyond that, thereafter, I went to University of the West Indies as actually a member of the first cohort of banking and finance first degree, and then. Beyond that, went on to University of Wales to study for a master's in business administration, general management.
At the time?
At the time.
And did you find, Ryan, though, that, although, the moves were brutal at the time,
yes.
but did you find, whether it's, for your dad, but even for yourself, by moving all around the island so much, did you find it kind of, in a way, even developed kind of, the Reid brand, or you got to meet so much people that
definitely.
for business later in life, it's
Definitely.
like you bump into these persons and they're like, oh, we knew each other.
Exactly. And let me tell you, in a previous life, I remember, and someone who have a very good relationship with Chris Williams, said to me that, because I like research analysis, I like to analyze. And he said to me that, the best CEOs are salespersons. And he's like, you have to go into advisory and sales. And I said, well, I can't do this.
And he's an example of that.
Yeah, exactly. And what I found was that the relationships that I would have built, or the family would have built, all across Jamaica, benefited me in that sojourn. So, I give full credit for that move.
In a way, by moving around, it was almost like a marketing or sales experiment.
Precisely.
Okay. And your dad is actually chairman of the board?
Of FirstRock Capital Holdings, correct.
Capital Holdings board.
Correct.
Okay,
correct,
or one of the boards, right?
Yes.
Okay, and how do you find that, that works for some people, in other cases it doesn't, but how has that kind of experience been, so far for the company and for yourself?
Well, good, I'd say. My father has a lot of corporate governance experience and leadership experience. I think to be honest, I think it's a lot harder on me, given where he sits. And I mean, I don't mind it. That's the truth. But I think the entire dynamic works. Within the overall structure of the entities.
Because he has the NCB Bank or NCB Financial Group now background.
Yes.
And he's also on other boards too, right?
Correct. So he chairs the Caribbean Alumina Production CAP.
Okay.
He's also on the Exim Bank board and a few others.
Right.
So and he has a lot of experience in leadership.
Yeah. And getting those kind of roots and watching your mom and dad, you're now a family man.
Yes. Let me tell you something. And I mean, that has been my greatest accomplishment to date, to be very honest, Mark. I really have to give credit to my partner, Stephanie, who's, ensures that, my peace of mind is always there. So I'm never angry. What do you say? Even if I'm angry, when I get home, things are, peaceful. I have a young daughter, her name is Riley, and I mean, she is just, a full burst of energy. And, she makes every day, worth whatever comes with it.
So as you kind of buckle down, it's a pick-me-up.
Exactly.
As you get home after that kind of long finance day.
Yeah, family is everything.
It's excellent.
Yeah.
And what do you find you're kind of now looking forward to?
So we want to create an entity or entities that are squarely focused on their specific mandate. And what we've been doing over the last year is ensuring that we have the right talent, people who are motivated, dedicated, people who are not lazy, right? These are the people that we want.
So you want really hungry,
absolutely,
I mean executives or persons who are going out there?
Absolutely. I remember years ago, I went to a PSOJ Awards, and I mean, Butch Stewart was there, and he was giving a speech, and he said, listen, you have to get to work early. You have to just be at it, be at it. And what I find with many, some executives and entrepreneurs, they get a touch of some success and they get lazy.
The complacency really sets in.
It sets in, and I just don't get it.
So as say co-founder, but as group CEO, you're really pushing and driving that down.
Absolutely. So, Mark, I'll sit at the front desk and answer the phone. You know what I mean? Whatever needs to be done, I'll do it. I think as Jamaicans and some professionals, we tend to over-delegate. Like, you do that. You have to lead from the front sometimes. And I think that's something that I take every single day when I get to work.
Excellent. We're going to come right back to that point. And just how you got your light bulb and got started. So we'll be right back. We take another break on Business Dive Extra. We'll find out what's next for Ryan Reid and FirstRock when we return. Welcome back to Business Dive Extra. The company has offices in Jamaica, Cayman Islands, Florida, Costa Rica, and Guyana. FirstRock Capital Holdings have reported their assets value at over $35 million US. FirstRock Capital listed February 2020 after raising 9 million US Class A shares and Jamaican 580.84 million Class B shares via its IPO. In the most recent results by FirstRock, shareholders' equity topped US $30 million for the second quarter, June 30th, 2021 results. Let's hear more about this now with Mr. Ryan Reid. Ryan, welcome back to Business Live Extra.
Thank you, Mark.
You know, it's been so exciting hearing about execution,
yes,
your team members, the structure. We're going to get to that.
Yes.
And you know how you differentiate yourself, but the light bulb. You know, your light bulb, and you mentioned your co-founder, Dr. Michael Banbury.
Yes.
Well-known Jamaican.
Yes.
How did this come about? I mean, it's always exciting to hear when a business, you know, got started and what you can share.
Yes, yes.
But yeah, how did FirstRock get started, and even the brand?
Well, let me tell you, as being an advisor for many years, you always have to have that, comfortable and uncomfortable conversation when it comes on to assets and performance of assets. And I said to myself, there must be a way to structure an entity that took a different approach towards stable assets like real estate. And I couldn't put my finger on it, as to the how. And I remember, as a good friend of mine, Brett Wong, he had his 40th birthday party. This was at Mass Camp in Kingston.
This is the Big Joe?
Yes, Big Joe. Pure country.
Pure country, yes, orange juice. Yes. Okay.
And I was there, and I went to the bar to get a drink. And I knew Michael Banbury from back then from another place. And, he came to the bar to have a drink as well. And it so happened that we're ordering the same drink.
Okay.
Right? And, we're drinking and chatting. And he said to me, boy, I really want to see a company that can do real estate the right way. And I said, that's interesting because I've been thinking about the same thing. And then we decided to have lunch. We had lunch the following day at Shea Maria in Kingston. And we sat and we were discussing.
So you both like Lebanese food? Yeah?
Yes, we do. Okay. We do. And we're there and, we met literally every Sunday for about a year. Planning. And I mean, that's how it really started. The name FirstRock was my brainchild. We had a name before, but, we decided that this would have been more marketable. And we started to structure the entity in line with what we wanted to achieve.
What was kind of, I mean, everybody says Jamaica is a rock,
Yes.
You're back to the rock, or it's the rock of the world, but what were the two words meaning? Like, what was
Mark, you want to be honest?
Sure.
I couldn't tell you.
This is why we're on TV.
Yes,
it's the only way to be.
I couldn't tell you. I was driving from Palisados, and there was some rocks on the side of the road. I'm like, boy, I like the name Rock and Solid, but everybody says Rock, Solid,
So you
rock.
saw the big boulders and it just
the big
popped
boulders,
out to you.
and I'm like, yo, FirstRock, and that's how it came about.
And you're first to market.
Yes, correct.
All right.
Correct.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
So you got the brand going, you got the light bulb, and did you find, but even before that, you were in a great job. You're in a great job.
Yes.
You mentioned his name earlier with Chris Williams.
Yes.
Guys mentoring you.
Yes.
Chris is, as you said, legend in his own
Absolutely.
way. DBNG, NCB Cap Markets.
Yep.
But he left and did his own thing also.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
And boom, so the story goes. So in your case, though, you're rocking and rolling, and is it just you wanted a bigger picture for yourself also?
Yes. So I think I'm a borderline millennial.
Okay.
And there comes a point where you say to yourself,
You're 35 and below, or?
Yeah. Well, I'm 37.
All right.
Yeah,
so you're just above it.
Just above. And I said to myself, I want to be able to create something that can outlive me, right? And I think the best way to do that was to, start my own entity. And, luckily for me, this was in perfect alignment with Michael Banbury's, vision of what he wanted to accomplish. And, we said, let's put this thing together. But it was really, Mark, just for me to want to create something larger than myself.
So it's like you're starting to think about kids and
Absolutely.
your future and like legacy capital.
Well, I never thought about kids
stuff.
at that time, but yes.
Back of your brain.
Yes,
Back of your brain.
yes.
Okay.
Yes, for sure.
Okay. So and so you moved on. You got the company going. And when you really look back, any real entrepreneurial challenges, any obstacles in the beginning
for sure,
that
Mark.
you really had to
Absolutely.
Get going.
Absolutely. So so we seeded the entity with personal resources, and we were operating for a couple months.
Yes.
And then we said, like, listen, for FirstRock Capital Holdings, we need to do a private placement. And we started working on a private placement transaction, and everything was lined up. When I say everything was lined up, everything was lined up for it. And got some bad news that, listen, this can't happen. When I got the news, Mark, let me tell you, I went home that night.
Was it like timing or just documentation or a mix-up?
Just timing, and the truth is, being a new entity.
Yes.
Just the risk, or the startup risk, I should say.
Yeah.
And Mark, I went home maybe like 11 o'clock at night. I poured myself a glass of Hennessy, which is my favorite drink. And, I cried the entire night, devastated. And at 6 o'clock in the morning, the glass of Hennessy was untouched.
You couldn't even drink?
I couldn't even drink it.
Yeah.
And, I was speaking to, very good friends of mine, a very good friend of mine, close friend of mine, Jason Morris from Cygnus. I was telling him about, what's going on, and he called, and then Barris called me Barris Gray from Cygnus Capital called me, and they said, let's make this transaction happen. So Cygnus, has been, a very supportive entity for us. The guys at Cygnus, they understand the journey as well. They've been with us since day one, and we are eternally grateful to them.
So you really felt like at that point that, you've put in all this sweat equity.
My God.
You put in some personal resources, but the business, at one point felt like it was just dying or dead.
Yes, so at that point I'm like, oh my God. And the truth is, interestingly, we went on to do the private placement, and we, for a startup company, raised the most capital in the history of the Caribbean for a private company.
At that point in time.
At that point in time.
Yeah. And so, Ryan, you're still a relatively young guy, as you said. Yes. And I mean, it's not all roses.
No.
But persons see FirstRock today.
Yes.
And they see you today.
Yes.
The company is doing well, you're doing well. But the reality is that in the beginning, there's challenges. Like any story. Because you're only 3-4 years old, you mentioned earlier. Okay.
Yes. So it requires that sort of resilience. And what I would say to persons, if you're going to delve into entrepreneurship, and if you expect it to be a smooth road, forget it. Don't even venture. And I've gotten to the point, Mark, where it might sound weird, but sometimes I get a little excited about the struggle.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Sometimes I get a little okay, the struggle is coming, okay, I'm doing something right.
Well, you don't always, so there's some entrepreneurs who strive, fortunately or unfortunately, when there's a struggle or a crisis.
Yes.
I mean, you don't always strive too much or else, you don't always want to struggle.
Exactly, true.
But that's interesting. I mean, they say some of the best world's entrepreneurs, I mean, you look at Elon Musk these days, I mean, every time he has an issue, man, they come out of it smelling like roses.
Exactly.
So it's that's the reality of business.
Absolutely.
Or capital.
Business. Yeah.
In some cases, in hindsight, any massive wins that you feel FirstRock has had that have just made you, as you said, maybe drink a bottle of Hennessy, make you feel like, wow, this has been a fantastic day.
Yes.
The brand and the goodwill has just been on fire. But
I believe. I mean, there have been a few. I mean, I was zoning, one, the private placement was one, but, being listed on the main market at the stock exchange.
You think that's a milestone?
Yeah, effectively 1 year, 3,000 shareholders.
Wow.
$30 million in capital. And with all the entities we have together between FirstRock Private Equity, the FirstRock Group, and FirstRock Capital Holdings, we're about $60 million in assets now, total.
Yes.
So...
You mean that's a cumulative of everything?
Everything.
So not just the listed company.
Correct.
But a listed company is what, as Jamaicans, we can see.
Correct.
Right.
Correct.
And what do you find, Ryan? I mean, we live in an island. It's small, anyone can give you a phone call.
Yes.
What do you find when you listen to your shareholders, whether it's your annual general meeting or you're a recognizable face now,
Yes.
you're in the public.
Yes.
What do you find when somebody calls you? Why did they become one of your 3,000 shareholders?
So one,
what's a common comment?
I think the common comment is that's the vision. So when I say the vision, let me expand. One, Jamaicans like a story. So when they see a young company, because when you look at it, I'm 37. My business partner is, you won't like me to say his age, but yes, he's older than I am. And
he's not a millennial.
Exactly, exactly. And then we've been able to put together, boards with persons who are senior, with a lot of experience, who are well respected. When you see that fusion, I believe that's what excites people the most. So I can tell you most of the, our shareholders in the publicly traded company would have been referrals from like persons at our board level.
Yes.
And then once we in the private equity company, persons who are shareholders in the private equity company would have said, okay, listen, you have exhibited confidence where this is concerned, so we feel comfortable here.
Kind of the crossover credibility.
Correct.
So it's really like the story, the credibility, and the brand.
Correct, correct.
Fantastic. All right, we're going to come right back to that. And we take another break on Business Live Extra. We'll find out what's next for FirstRock when we return. Welcome back to Business Live Extra. At the 2020 year-end, FirstRock reported audited results with a net profit of US $2.7 million compared to US $756,000 for the 12 months of 2019. That's an increase of over 300% in just 1 year. After record profits, FirstRock are not stopping there as they plan to invest over 1 billion Jamaican dollars to develop Hambani Estates, an exclusive residential project. Hambani Estates will be a multi-family development consisting of 12 single-family residences. It is slated to be completed by April 2022. For a final time, we're talking to Mr. Ryan Reid, President and Co-Founder of FirstRock. Ryan, welcome back to Business Live Extra. Yeah, Hambani sounds exciting.
Yes.
You have Hambani going on. You have another development slated to come on stream.
Yes.
How many is it now in Kingston? Is it 2 or 3?
It's 2.
It's 2 you have?
2.
Okay.
So one has commenced, right, and one is yet to commence. Obviously, we want to scale the right way. We've partnered also with some developers in Costa Rica. On a high-rise multifamily, one-bedroom apartment, well, not multifamily, one-bedroom, residential development. So at the end of the day, we want to ensure that we are scaling properly. We don't have a massive team, keep expenses tight. And as such, we want to ensure that Hambani is successful, and from all indications, it will be.
So FirstRock Capital Holdings now, listed company, you're getting your feet wet with Hambani.
Correct.
Which is on Bumble Avenue.
In Kingston, Jamaica.
In Kingston. No, do you use, or is your structure at this point? I mean, I know it can be evolving. Do you use in-house resources, or do you kind of outsource and take on third parties? Or is it a mixed model?
No, so we have literally outsourced our professional team. We are not contractors. We're not engineers, etc. So what we've gotten, is really the best in class. So for Hambani Estates, we have Garco Construction, which is a general contractor.
Are you a developer or an investor?
Developer.
You're a developer.
But not a general contractor.
Okay, so you're a developer and then you put the money in.
Correct.
Gotcha.
Correct. That's how we do it. And I mean, so we have the likes of, Hugh Gordon from HTG. We have Vidal Dowding, the architect. So we really get the best in class of professionals to undertake for us, and we manage them.
And your next project in Kingston, Seaview Avenue.
Yes.
Is there a planned start date as yet, or that's just in the evolution stage?
Not as yet. We'd really love to commence this financial year, but again, it's about scale.
Yeah. And for market disclosures or so, do you project or discuss as yet your profitability on the Hambani project, or is
No.
that private information?
That's private until it gets to a point where we can actually discuss
it.
Correct.
But do you expect, based on your financials,
Yes.
you take on some debt securities,
Yes.
how you're managing your cash flows, do you expect to realize a potential or a significant gain from the Habani project?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And market timing, let's say, general or a window would be next year.
Next financial year, correct.
Okay. Calendar year, financial year?
Same.
Same?
Yeah.
It's a December year end.
Correct.
And so that really from a going concern standpoint, you really start to get FirstRock, let's say, going 2022 from a cash flow standpoint.
That is correct.
The capital holdings,
Correct.
right?
Correct.
Okay. And Ryan, the geographies you're looking at, in your reports, you've spent a lot of time talking about geography and diversification. So the Costa Rica project, you get exposure to the full 155 units or just a select few of the units?
Just a select few. But what we've done, we've created a very unique structure for the transaction.
Okay.
Yeah, so effectively we're an investor in the project with options when it's completed.
Okay. So you might get, if you're, let's just say hypothetically, if you're at 10 units now, you could get more upside or
there we go.
Something like that.
There we go. There
okay.
we go.
Any other countries that you're in besides Costa Rica and Jamaica?
Yes, the Cayman Islands. Up to recently, we're in Florida, and we are looking at some opportunities in Guyana.
In Guyana?
Yes.
Okay. And will these be primarily like rental income, or are these development?
So from a development standpoint, we're okay. We're comfortable in Jamaica and Costa Rica. Outside of these jurisdictions, we're looking at rental income.
Any specific target rental yield that you want to get, like a net rental yield?
10%.
For it to make sense? Minimum 10%?
Minimum.
Okay. And you find you can get that in residential, in these jurisdictions, or you got to look at commercial?
No, absolutely. So really for both, but primarily residential, depending on the structure. So
okay.
we are not in the business of acquiring a property and having it tenanted with Joe Blow, right? What we look at is like, listen, there is this development, there are 20 units. We'll go to the developer and say, listen, give us a guaranteed return of 10% with your corporate guarantees, everything. And we're not concerned about the vacancy.
So is it more kind of like secured, I don't know, bridge financing or mortgage financing, you go in but secured by the future units? Is that kind of more the model that you go in with?
I wouldn't put it that way. So we give an undertaking to acquire the units.
Okay.
When the units are complete, then they need to be tenanted for a minimum of, say, 3 years. And we get that rental income.
And then you go from there?
Correct.
Okay, good. And future fundraise activity. We saw recently you just had a major success. You raised $700 million, arranged by the company that you said has been really on the journey with you.
Yes,
Barris Gray and Cygnus and team. Do you see yourself continuously tapping the market because with the real estate business, raising funds are important? Very
important. So we closed on a corporate bond recently, and we are very pleased with the success of it. Especially given the pricing, we thought the pricing was very competitive. We are not intent through FirstRock Capital Holdings are not intent on going back to market for any further cap raises for the rest of the financial year.
Okay.
What we want to ensure is that we have a perfect balance between not diluting shareholders, but at the same time being able to fund our pipeline transactions. So once we have a master pipeline that we feel is very attractive or attractive enough, then we may explore the route of going via the capital market.
But you feel, you and the board of directors feel satisfied for this financial year?
Absolutely.
For this year? Yeah. And Ryan, you mentioned earlier bringing on really hungry people. You want the best of the best, for your core values, your business. And you have brought on some powerhouse names or names well known in the financial sector.
Yes.
You mentioned, Chris Young recently.
Yes.
You brought on your initial team, Pierre Shirley.
Yes.
How do you make sure that everyone's in their domains and you don't create brand confusion in the marketplace, or how have you structured the group, let's say?
Yes.
Are these vice presidents or are they in subsidiaries, or how does it work where you're the group CEO?
Correct. So there's a FirstRock Group of which I'm the CEO. Supporting me in my role is our CFO, effectively AVP Finance, Sean Myers, very aggressive guy. We've now since recently poached a senior manager at Sagicor Group, which will now head the real estate business for FirstRock Group.
So that would be the real estate in-house or?
In-house.
In-house,
In-house. In addition to that, we have a subsidiary entity, the FirstRock Realty, which is actually a licensed real estate brokerage.
Okay, so I mean, no different than a Coldwell Banker or
Correct.
like a
Correct.
Valerie Levy Associates, etc.
Correct.
Okay.
So that entity is now headed by Pierre Shirley. So Pierre Shirley is now the managing director of FirstRock Realty, and his specific mandate is to grow that business, not just in Jamaica but elsewhere.
Will that actually be just a support kind of sell for FirstRock, or you want that to become an independent realty business?
No, totally
where it
independent.
recruits realtors?
Absolutely.
Really?
Absolutely.
Okay.
So to be very aggressive and targeted in the marketplace.
Okay.
And then we have FirstRock Private Equity, and that is headed by Christopher Young, who has a very strong team. You know, Dolla Financial Services are some subsidiary of FirstRock Private Equity, and you know we have Kadeen Mears, who is the CEO of that entity, and so forth. So it's really what we want are persons who are entrepreneurial. Yes. So they're in the business, but their vision and their posture is still entrepreneurial.
And FirstRock Realty now falls under
FirstRock Group.
FirstRock Group. So not the capital holdings, right? So anything that is really kind of an operating company, going concern, whether it's FirstRock Realty, Dolla Financial, FirstRock Barbados, is kind of underneath
group.
Call it private companies or group companies.
There we go.
Yeah. So anything that kind of generates like the P&L.
There we go.
Let's say that's non-real estate.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Interesting. And long term, do you see that company IPOing, or you might just take the parts of the businesses to IPO?
Correct. So the portfolio companies within say FirstRock Private Equity and so forth will be IPO'd, but the intention is to keep these companies private.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we've seen where Kingston Properties has, you know, for years they were lagging the market. I mean, after they did their Carlton Savannah deal, a few other deals, you know, Kevin Richards has been in the business for, you know, however long, and you know, boom, they woke up one morning, Victoria Mutual came in and they did a few deals, rights issues, and with all this M&A and deals, and you know, they've just been killing it or doing really well all of a sudden. Do you see a potential whereby maybe you wake up one morning, you know, you and Michael, your co-founder, and maybe you'll sell 20% or 30% or do a deal with a major financial house that says, you know, we'd like your governance. Ryan, we like you as well. As you said, you're 37. We like what you've created. And we want to buy a big stake in you to give you a serious, you know, cash cow or a serious investment.
And this is at the group level you're asking?
Whichever level you're comfortable with.
Yeah, whichever. So, I mean, obviously, through capital holdings, it would have to be more or less primarily like a rights issue. Where, you know, there's a commitment, a firm commitment through the rights issue.
And those are popular now.
Yes.
I mean, I see Burrito doing an APO again.
Yes.
You know, I mean, it seems like you can just do an APO and get money now.
Yes. I mean, they're very aggressive.
But do you think that's something that, you know, could be on your horizon? Because Kingston Properties has shown it's
for the publicly traded company, the answer is yes. For the private entities, you know, Michael and I, you know, haven't had that conversation. Okay. But, you know, we're always open.
So the public company is really where...
Yes, correct.
Because that's the one that is public.
Yes, correct.
Okay.
Correct.
So M&A and stuff like that can be on the horizon.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
And anything else, I mean, you know, 3, 5, 7 years from now, the public company, which is a one of focus really, where would you like to see that, you know, get to, whether it's total assets, shareholders' equity? What's the underlying, the big goal? What's the big BAM strategy?
Primarily, Mark, I mean, through FirstRock Capital Holdings, our top level target is growth in assets. You know, we want to just keep growing our asset base. You know, in 2019, we were at $17 million US in assets.
Yes.
And in 2 years, we're at $41 million in assets. Right? So we want to just keep pushing and growing assets. So that's the primary strategy. Ideally, we want to get to $100 million in total assets within 3 years. That's our plan. And, you know, we're going to work assiduously towards that. Through FirstRock Private Equity, we want to have at least a good 4 to 5 portfolio companies under management with at least $25 million in assets for FirstRock private equity.
Right.
And then, through FirstRock Group, there's still a very solid, robust structure that operates these various entities. And then, with FirstRock Realty, obviously want to be, larger in Jamaica. We're looking to Cayman and Florida. So, that's really I'd say the 3 to 5 year strategy. I think, with these uncertain times, it's difficult to strategize much beyond that.
No, and with that point, I mean, has COVID impacted you?
Yes,
and FirstRock Capital Holdings a bit?
Yes, so I mean, last year, obviously, in Costa Rica, we've had to give some sort of allowances on rent.
Okay.
And not just as a business decision, but
and that's residential.
Residential, correct.
Okay.
But it was really commonplace in Costa Rica.
Okay.
Everyone was doing it. And,
Right.
So we stepped in.
So it was more kind of cultural and business there and everything.
There we go.
Okay.
There we go.
And how, Ryan, when you talk at your AGM or you talk to investors, potential investors, I mean, the listed company FirstRock Capital Holdings, income stock, growth stock, or how do you pitch it? How do you talk about it?
It's really a growth stock.
It's a growth stock.
Yes, because the truth is that the assets primarily are stable assets.
And is that because of you're still in kind of the first 3 to 5 years now?
There we go.
Okay, so is it designed long term as an income play, or is it just kind of where it's at in its shelf life now?
So primarily growth and income.
Okay.
Secondarily income.
All right.
Yeah.
Great. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you,
and
Mike.
being on Business Live Extra. It's been terrific having you.
It's good to be here.
Seeing your vision for FirstRock.
I keep watching it, so it's good to be here.
You visualize it,
Yes.
and you're with us on BLE.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. That's it for another edition of Business Live Extra. Remember, every accomplishment starts with the decision to try. We've been talking with Mr. Ryan Reid, President and Co-Founder of FirstRock Group. Don't forget, you can watch us online at cvm.com/videos/Business Live Extra. Thanks for joining us.